Stephanie White is doing it again. Right now, today, heading into Indiana's game against the Washington Mystics, the head coach of the Indiana Fever is making the deliberate, undeniable, catastrophic choice to build her offense around Kelsey Mitchell jacking up shot after contested shot, while Caitlin Clark, the most gifted offensive player on that roster, stands on the perimeter watching the ball go everywhere except into her hands. That is not an accident. That is not a rotation quirk. That is a coaching decision, and every single person watching this video needs to sit with that for a second, because what Stephanie White is doing to Caitlin Clark right now is the kind of thing that ends coaching careers, or it should. Welcome back. This is BounceX, and today we are ripping the doors off the Indiana Fever's coaching staff and exposing the brutal, baffling, soul-crushing pattern that Stephanie White refuses to stop running, game after game, road trip after road trip, loss after loss. Let me set the table for you before we go any further. The Indiana Fever are sitting at 4 wins and 5 losses. They have lost their last 3 road games: Golden State, Portland, and New York. 3 road games, 3 losses. And now they have to travel to Washington to face the Mystics, a team that has already beaten them once this season. A team that has the one thing GM Amber Cox refused to address all offseason. The one thing we screamed about from January through tip-off. The one thing Lynn Dunn dismissed the fan base as complainers for bringing up, and that is size. The Washington Mystics have size. The Indiana Fever do not. And Stephanie White is walking into that building today with a game plan built around a player who cannot stop shooting long enough to pass the basketball to a teammate. That is where we are. That is the reality. And the establishment around this franchise does not want you to look at it too closely, because the moment you do, the entire fiction that Stephanie White is a competent head coach collapses completely. Now I want to walk you through exactly what has been happening with this Indiana Fever team, because the pattern is too clean and too consistent to be anything other than deliberate. And I am going to document it for you piece by piece, because that is what this channel does. Let's start with Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey Mitchell has been going rogue, repeatedly, consistently, without correction, without consequence, without Stephanie White doing a single thing about it. We are talking about a player who dribbles and dribbles and dribbles and then shoots. Bad shot after bad shot. Contested isolation attempts that are not drawn up by anyone, not created by any play design, not the product of any offensive scheme. Just Kelsey Mitchell deciding that every time she touches the ball, she is the option, the only option, every time. And here is what makes this absolutely infuriating. When Caitlin Clark gets hot, when Caitlin Clark is doing her thing, pulling up from deep, making threes, getting the crowd going, Stephanie White has the audacity to call it hero ball. She sits on that sideline and decides she does not like Caitlin Clark making those shots. That is the documented, undeniable reality of what is happening on that bench. Stephanie White pumps the brakes on Caitlin Clark when Caitlin Clark is cooking, but Kelsey Mitchell can run isolation after isolation, jack up shot after bad shot, and Stephanie White keeps letting them fly. No timeout, no substitution, no correction, nothing. You have to understand what that double standard means. It is not just poor coaching, it is not just a preference, it is a choice. Stephanie White is actively choosing to suppress Caitlin Clark's offensive involvement while simultaneously enabling Kelsey Mitchell to play like she is at an open run at the local gym. This is not the YMCA. This is not 24-hour fitness. This is a professional basketball game, and the head coach of the Indiana Fever cannot see, or refuses to see, the difference between a player who is creating offense and a player who is destroying it. Now let's talk about what happened the last time these two teams played, because the evidence is right there and the establishment would love for you to forget it. The last time Indiana faced Washington, Aaliyah Boston, the $6 million center, had 1 rebound in the entire first half. 1. Shakira Austin outplayed her, Kiki Iriafen outplayed her, and Lauren Betts, 6'7", coming off the Washington bench, was ready to go and showed out. Aaliyah Boston was a no-show, no call, no show. And Caitlin Clark, to her absolute credit, went rogue in the best possible way. Pulling up from 3, lighting it up, trying to drag this team back into a game it should never have been losing by that margin. Caitlin Clark was the one trying to save the Fever, while her center was collecting 1 rebound in 20 minutes of basketball. Let that sink in. 1 rebound in the first half for $6 million. While Caitlin Clark was out there bombing threes trying to keep the season alive. And where was Stephanie White in all of this? She was on that sideline watching Kelsey Mitchell shoot Indiana out of the game versus New York. Bad shot after bad shot. And this is the part that should make every single person watching this video genuinely angry. Stephanie White walked to the media podium after the loss and said the offense had tunnel vision. Tunnel vision. That was her diagnosis. That was the explanation she offered the press. Not Kelsey Mitchell's shot selection. Not the ball-stopping isolation game that drained the clock and killed every offensive possession. Tunnel vision. A vague, blameless, gutless non-answer designed to protect Kelsey Mitchell and deflect accountability away from the coaching staff's decisions. I want to be entirely clear with you about what that press conference moment represents. Stephanie White stood at that podium, knowing exactly what happened, knowing who had the ball and who was shooting it, and she chose to deliver a nothing answer. She chose to protect the player who shot Indiana out of the game. She chose to say nothing about the player who was trying to save it. That is not coaching, that is cover. And assistant coach Austin Kelly, who has been credited with drawing up the offense for this team, he wears this too. Every single broken possession, every Kelsey Mitchell isolation that goes nowhere, every play where Caitlin Clark stands in the corner waiting for a ball that never comes, that is on the people who drew up the offense. Stephanie White and the staff around her own, every single one of those possessions. Now let me walk you through the 5 things that would have to happen for Indiana to win this game today, because I believe in giving you the full picture even when the picture is ugly. The first thing is getting Kelsey Mitchell under control. Kelsey Mitchell shot Indiana out of the game against New York. Bad shot after bad shot after bad shot. And the brutal truth is that Stephanie White has shown zero willingness to pull her when she goes into that mode. Zero. Kelsey Mitchell's pass button is broken. Her pass button does not exist. She sees the ball, she dribbles, she shoots, and Stephanie White watches it happen and does nothing. For Indiana to have any chance in Washington, that has to stop. The ball has to move. Kelsey Mitchell has to understand that she is playing professional basketball, not running pickup at the gym, and that there is a generational talent standing 10 feet away from her who needs the basketball. The second thing is that Stephanie White has to actually run plays for Caitlin Clark. Real plays. Not the same tired action where Caitlin Clark drifts down to the block, sets a screen, and then floats back up to receive a pass that the entire defense has already scouted and anticipated. Every team in this league knows that action is coming. Every single one. You ran it 30 times in a row, and you are not catching anybody by surprise. Caitlin Clark needs the ball in her hands. She needs the pick and roll with Aaliyah Boston. She needs actions designed to get her open at the rim, not just recycled motion offense that every scout in the league has on film. And we absolutely cannot have another fourth quarter where Caitlin Clark does not get her first shot attempt until there is 1 minute left on the clock. 1 minute left, that happened, that is documented, that is not an exaggeration, that is malpractice, that is sabotage, and we all see it. The third thing is Aaliyah Boston has to show up. The last time this matchup happened, Shakira Austin got busy, Kiki Iriafen got busy, and Lauren Betts, 6'7" off the Washington bench, came in and dominated. Aaliyah Boston had 1 rebound in the first half. 1. You are earning $6 million. You are the starting center for a team that is trying to compete. And when you go into a game against a Washington Mystics frontcourt that has already beaten you, you cannot be a ghost. You cannot be invisible. Because if Aaliyah Boston disappears again in this game, there is no amount of Caitlin Clark heroics that can cover the gap. The size disadvantage that GM Amber Cox refused to address all offseason is going to be on full display, and the people who called us complainers for raising that issue are going to have to sit with what they built. The fourth thing is that the role players on this Indiana Fever roster have to understand their actual roles. Sophie Cunningham, I am watching you look off Caitlin Clark. That has to stop. Raven Johnson, you are on this team for defense. Defense. The reason opposing teams are leaving you open is not because they respect your shot. It is because they want you to take it. They are playing 4-on-5 against Indiana on defense because they know that if Raven Johnson is shooting the basketball, that is a win for the opposing team. We do not need Raven Johnson taking more shots than the rest of the bench combined. We need Raven Johnson doing the one thing she was brought here to do, which is guard and defend and make life difficult for the other team's best players. That is it. That is the assignment. The fifth thing is the foul problem. This Indiana Fever team is fouling at an alarming rate, and a significant part of the reason is that they are not helping each other on defense. Caitlin Clark picked up foul trouble in the last game in part because Lexi Hall did not take one single step over to help cut off the lane. One step, that is all it would have taken. And instead, Caitlin Clark was put in the position of having to reach and foul because her teammate left her on an island. That is a team defense failure. That is a scheme failure. That is a coaching failure. When you are not helping each other in the lane, when you are leaving your teammates isolated against drives, you force individual players to make desperate plays that result in fouls. And Caitlin Clark picking up foul trouble is catastrophic for Indiana's chances of winning any game, let alone a road game against a team with a size advantage. Those are the 5 things. And here is the brutal, undeniable truth. I do not believe Stephanie White is going to execute a single one of them. Not one. I believe Kelsey Mitchell is going to dribble and shoot and dribble and shoot, and nobody on that bench is going to do anything about it. I believe Caitlin Clark is going to spend stretches of this game standing off the ball while the coaching staff runs the same predictable, telegraphed actions that every team in the league has already solved. I believe the size disadvantage is going to show up in the front court, and Aaliyah Boston is going to have to outperform what she showed in the last matchup just for Indiana to stay competitive. And I believe Stephanie White is going to stand at the podium after this game, win or lose, and deliver another answer that protects everyone except the player who deserves protection, which is Caitlin Clark. I am picking the Washington Mystics to win this game. I am on record. And the reason I am picking Washington is not because they are the better team on paper. It is because I do not believe Stephanie White is going to make the adjustments this situation demands. The Washington Mystics coaching staff has already beaten Indiana once. They have the film. They know exactly how to exploit the Fever's size disadvantage. They know that if they can get Kelsey Mitchell into her iso ball mode and keep Caitlin Clark off the ball, Indiana will beat itself. And Stephanie White, based on everything she has shown this season, is going to walk right into that trap. Here is what I need every single person watching this video to understand about the larger picture. This is not just about one game. This is not just about Kelsey Mitchell's shot selection on a Monday afternoon. This is about a franchise that has the most watchable, most marketable, most genuinely gifted offensive player in the women's game right now, and the head coach of that franchise is actively, deliberately, consistently failing to put that player in a position to succeed. Caitlin Clark is out there, right now, doing the work, running the floor, making the shots when she gets the ball, dragging this team back into games it has no business being in. And Stephanie White's response to that is to take the ball out of her hands and hand it to a player who cannot stop shooting long enough to run a play. The establishment around this franchise, the front office, the coaching staff, the people who built this roster and designed this offense, does not want you to look at that dynamic too closely. Because the moment you do, the questions become unavoidable. Why is Caitlin Clark coming off the ball in the fourth quarter of close games? Why is the same tired off-ball action run 30 times in a row against defenses that have already solved it? Why does Kelsey Mitchell get to shoot Indiana out of games without consequence, while Caitlin Clark gets her shot selection scrutinized? Why did GM Amber Cox hear the size concerns all offseason and do nothing? Why did Lynn Dunn call the fan base complainers for raising legitimate roster construction issues that are now playing out exactly as predicted, road loss after road loss? These are not abstract questions. These are documented, traceable, undeniable failures. And every single blunder from this coaching staff and this front office is one step closer to the only 2 outcomes that matter. Either this entire staff gets shown the door and handed their pink slips, or Caitlin Clark ends up somewhere else. And I want to be honest with you, I am fine with either outcome. Because what is happening right now is not sustainable. What is happening right now is a head coach who does not know what she is doing, enabled by a front office that did not build the right roster, running an offense that an assistant coach apparently draws up, producing losses that were entirely preventable. Stephanie White, I am putting my name on this right now. If Indiana loses this game in Washington because Kelsey Mitchell shot them out of it again, and you stand at that podium and say anything other than "I need to do better" by Caitlin Clark, then the conversation about your future with this franchise is not a conversation anymore. It is a conclusion. And the people watching this channel have been documenting every game, every possession, every press conference answer, every baffling rotation decision. We have receipts. We have been building this case one game at a time, and the case is airtight. Caitlin Clark is doing everything right. Caitlin Clark is out there right now, today, ready to play, ready to run the pick and roll with Aaliyah Boston, ready to pull up from deep, ready to make every play this offense needs her to make. She is not the problem. She has never been the problem. The problem is sitting on the bench in a coaching chair, watching Kelsey Mitchell dribble into another contested 2, and deciding that is fine. I want to hear from every Indiana Fever fan watching this video right now. Drop your most honest take in the comments below. Is it time for Stephanie White to be fired? Yes or no? One word. Commit to a side, because the fence is not a position anymore. The evidence is in, the road record is in, the pattern is documented. The double standard between how Caitlin Clark's shot selection gets treated versus how Kelsey Mitchell's shot selection gets treated is on film. This is not a gray area. This is a clear, brutal, unavoidable verdict. And I want to know if you see what I see. Hit the notification bell because this coaching situation is unraveling in real time, and you do not want to miss the moment it finally breaks open. We will see you in the next video.